Hello, it's Wonder Gaming Empire here for the part 2 of how to play Civilization V Brave New World. So, originally I was going to make a video, which I did record already, that was actually kind of long, so I decided to simplify it even more. Basically what I did was I explained there's single player and multiplayer, and then scenarios, which are kind of like single player for the different modes. And multiplayer is basically going to be an even more simplified version of single player. You pick, if you do it online, you pick a room, or you can host it yourself, and you basically just play with other people. So it's pretty straightforward. I don't need to get into that much. Now, scenarios. These are all the scenarios. If you have all the expansion packs and the DLC, you will have all the scenarios. They are different than the core game because they have different settings for like how you actually play the game, and there's certain maps and scenarios and rules. So I won't get into those at the moment either. Maybe I'll do a let's play on those later. But the setup of the game is what's really important. Now, advanced setup lets you choose more complex settings. So if I go here, there's all kinds of different maps, but the main ones that people play on are continents, Pangea. They're very simple maps, rather than there's real world maps like of actual places. Like there's Australia, Asia, Africa, all kinds of stuff like that. And you can even make your own maps in the Civ 5 SDK. There's different sizes, which shows you here like the amount of players and city-states, which you can adjust yourself. You can choose how many players you want, up to 22, city-states up to 41. And you can choose the era you start in, the pace of the game, so how quickly the game will go by, the difficulty, there's all kinds. And I would actually recommend, by the way, playing on Warlord for the beginning. Don't play on Chieftain or Settler. They're beyond easy. It's so easy, it's boring. Play on Warlord. Or Chieftain, maybe, if you're really new to Civ. Anyways, these temperature, rainfall, these just affect what the map will look like, the terrain. Sea level, same. Resources, these are all sparse, means there's not going to be a lot of resources. Standard is kind of hard to explain because it's just basic amount of resources, which means there's not a lot, but there's not too little. Abundant, there's tons of resources all over the place. Legendary start means your first starting area, where you start with your first settler, will have a lot of resources for sure. Strategic balance means there's going to be resources all over the place, but there's not a lot necessarily. There's like certain kinds in certain places, so it'll be more strategic with how you settle. I usually choose legendary start because it helps you get the game going faster because it's your first city that has good resources. Then there's all the victory types. There's all these different settings, which I don't really need to go over that much. Start bias. Disable start bias means it won't spawn you in a location that suits your civilization. Like coastal is where Japan or England would start. It doesn't allow automatically for you to start there. So I mean, I don't think it's fair to do that, because some civs will be useless. Complete kills, if you get all your cities taken, then you can use your units, which are still in the game, to take back the cities, and you're still in the game with your units. Whereas normally in a game, if your cities are taken, you're done, no matter how big of a military you still have. Barbarians, you can turn them off, or you can make them stronger with Raging Barbarians. Quick combat and quick movement allow you to choose settings that'll disable the animations of combat and movement. So basically, the game will be quicker when it's loading, which is nice, especially online. I usually do that. And then there's other basic things. They're not very important. Random personalities. Each civilization, the leader has a specific personality trait for each different type of decision. Like some will go for science, some for growth, all kinds of different things. You can make that random, so it'll randomly assign one to each playing civilization. That's all you really need to know about this. Choosing a civilization, there's 43. Like started making separate video for, I'll probably make a couple for breaking down each civilization. There's 43, I think. There's no way I can go over all of them. So anyways though, you can see here, I'll just go through this real quick. They show a map and historical significance, like the year that this civilization was strong, or the year that the leader was around. I think it's just for the leader mainly. Like another one, here's Germany, here's Rome. It shows you, it's kind of interesting, I think. But now I can go back to, I will go to the Civilopedia. You need to know that you can go here and you can find almost anything out. You can just search. Like, let's say I want to search Camel Archer. And there it is. It comes right up. You can find anything you need to know in here. Even the city-states, because these are all based on real cities, too. Like Kiev, that's in Ukraine. Buenos Aires is capital Argentina. Sofia, Bulgaria. Cape Town, South Africa. And it tells you all the history. It's interesting. But yeah, there's everything you need to know here. Here's all the leaders, and then here's all the civilizations. Now, what I will do here is I will go through which civilizations are good for which things. Some of this will be like personal opinion, but most of it will be just absolute fact for like what people do and what their abilities promote. I can go through. I'll just go through like the basic list. It'll be really quick though. America, I can't say they're good for any particular victory, and when I say I'll go through this list, what I really mean is I will just say which victory they're most suited for, based on their leader ability, their unique units, and their unique buildings or tiles, etc. And America's kind of just one of those that isn't very good. It's not made for any specific victory, but it's got decent military units, decent. Not very good, but decent. So I guess you could go for a domination victory as them. Or maybe you could go for culture victory if you get the right social policies. But Arabia, they're very good with trade and resources. So I could say you could... they're probably best for diplomatic or maybe... I mean, I don't really even know. They get... extra resources based on their unique building, which is the bazaar. It gives you 2 of each luxury resource, so they're pretty good with trade-based stuff, which is like they have other abilities for that, and then they're good with religion too, and they get double oil quantities regardless, and extra money from that, so they're going to be wealthy, so anything they can use, so they can be pretty good for any victory type really, because they have extra money, but I don't know what kind of victory I would put them for, to be honest. They're pretty well rounded though, and there's guides you can go to that get like broken down views of like what are the best victory types for each of these civilizations too. So if you want to go and look at that, that's perfectly acceptable too, and they'll probably be able to give you a lot better description of which victory would be best for different reasons. But what I can say about each of these civilizations is that I have tried nearly all of them, and from the average gamer's perspective. Now, I've been playing Civilization for a long time, but I think that I got a pretty good idea of what the average gamer would use each of these civilizations for. Assyria, absolute domination. Like, they have the Siege Tower. The Royal Library actually helps with science, and it gives XP to units. They're going to be domination victory no matter what. Like, it's absolutely essential to use domination for Assyria. Austria, they're good with city-states. Definitely very good with military and producing great people. They're kind of open-ended because when you annex these city-states for gold, it takes away the vote, so they're not good for diplomatic victory. But, I mean, it's good to be allied with the city-states anyway, so maybe you could use them for that. They're kind of open-ended too because they get great people generation well, and you could use them for domination, I guess. Babylon is science. They're the best at science, or at least tied with Korea. Science is pretty much what they're best at because they get plus 50% generation of great scientists. Brazil is the king of tourism. Basically, they get all bonuses for culture and for tourism. So you're going to want to use them for culture victory. Byzantium gets religious bonuses and 2 decent unique units for the older ages. So I would say they're good for domination. But, I mean, the religious part of it, religion can be used for all kinds of different things. So I can't really say that the religion steers them in a certain victory path. It could help with culture, it could help with money. I mean, they're kind of a civilization that the victory type will depend on, like the map and like what resources are there, what the diplomacy is looking like. Carthage, I would say military victory because they can get a lot of money and very strong military forces early on. So they're definitely good with military, and because they get a free harbor in each city, which means a trade route will be built. or not trade route, city connection will automatically be established, and you'll have more money. China, military, I mean, science maybe, papermaker helps a little with that, and gold. But military, they got the art of war, they got military domination. Denmark, military, I mean, Vikings, Norwegian ski infantry, combat bonuses, attacking from water or over water. Egypt, they produce wonders very well, so you can go for whatever victory you want pretty much. I would not go for domination though, but they pump out wonders really fast, all that AI players, so you're going to want to, it's pretty open-ended for Egypt, honestly. England, domination victory I would go for. They have really strong units for that, and their navy is just, like, unbelievably good, so I would go for domination with England. Ethiopia, they have a combat bonus, but all their bonuses are mainly defensive, so I would not go for domination at all with Ethiopia. Pretty much any of the other victory types I would go for, though. Like, you could go for science victory pretty well with Ethiopia. Culture victory, maybe. Just not domination victory. Because you want to have a few cities. You don't want to have more. That eliminates their bonus. They get a 20% bonus if they have less cities than the other player that's, like, in combat with them. France, I would go for either military or domination victory or culture victory, because they get bonuses for culture and, like, double theming bonuses for wonders in the museum and stuff. So I would probably go for culture victory with France. Germany, military victory, definitely, because they have the Panzer, and they get they can recruit barbarians, and they're a very military based civilization, and the Hans is good for trade and such. But I honestly, you could use that to your advantage and get diplomatic victory, but I would just go for military victory with Germany. Greece, military victory, or also, well, I mean, they have city-state bonuses too, so you could go for a military victory, or you could go for a diplomatic victory with Greece. India, you build a few big cities, so I honestly would say I would go for a science victory, or for maybe cultural victory. They're kind of open-ended too, but they can build really big cities, so I would say the science output would be massive with these guys. Indonesia, they have a unique way of playing because they're island-based, so I would say probably they have good abilities for the Chris Swordsman, except for the bad. They have positive and negative abilities. After the Chris Swordsman enters combat for the first time, it can get one of them, so it's not very good, but they're good with faith, so that's kind of open-ended too. But I see a lot of aggressive Indonesias, so I don't know. I would say you can choose any kind of victory if you want to play as Indonesia, but you just got to make the right decisions with the extra resources you get when you settle as Indonesia, which you can figure that out. It's kind of complicated. Japan, obviously, you could go for a culture victory, but domination is the best. They have some culture bonuses from fishing boats and atolls, and samurais can build fishing boats, but I would just go for domination. Japan's very good for domination. Korea, science victory, no doubt. They get huge science bonuses just like Babylon. Always would choose science with Korea. Mongolia, they're honestly, like, they're really, really good against city-states. So don't do the diplomatic victory, but military victory, honestly. Or culture victory if you wipe out all the other cultures. I mean, if you really want to try that. Morocco, they get culture and gold from trade routes, so you could use gold to buy the city-states, and you could use culture to win a culture victory. But I would probably go for a diplomatic victory. And you don't buy the city-states, you ally with the city-states for the culture or diplomatic victory. Persia, they got good combat bonus during the Golden Age, but they always have Golden Ages, and they're good with gold. So you could use that for domination. You could use it even for culture. They're pretty open-ended. They're good with military, and they're good with Golden Ages, so you could use that military to your advantage then. I would probably go for a military victory or for a diplomatic victory, because you can get a lot of gold from Golden Ages, which you can use to ally with city-states. And Poland is the civilization that is pretty much the best in the game for average players, because their special ability gives you a free social policy for every era, and they don't have anything confusing. They're a basic civilization, and they're good though, so you can use them for any victory type. Polynesia is unique because you can move across ocean right at the beginning, and they're very good with culture. So you go for culture victory because these Moai, or however you pronounce it, give you culture. The more you have in a row, the more culture you get. They have a combat bonus for, I think it's, well, we can figure that out later, but it's a small bonus. It's not really worth that much, but they're decent for culture. I would say Polynesia is good for culture. Portugal is insanely good for gold. I would say better than Venice. Even though Venice gets more trade routes, Portugal's trade routes are worth twice as much. So it can take a lot longer to get those trade routes out with Venice, but Portugal, you just get one trade route and you already got the gold that it would take for 2 of Venice's trade routes. So I would say Portugal, definitely diplomatic victory, because they can ally with city-states, they can get their resources, they can do all that kind of stuff. Diplomatic victory is key with Portugal. Even the AI always focuses on unique, or on allying with city-states, because that's basically the play of Portugal itself. Rome, military victory, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Their units and their history are all shaped around military. Russia, you could actually go for military because they're very good with resources, and the Cossack is pretty good. And this helps expand the Krepost. But you could go for science victory even. I mean, it all depends. It can really depend on the political ideology you take later on. But I would say Russia's probably pretty good for science too. And military is insanely good. That's what I would assume most would take for that. And now you could also say Siam. They're good with city-states, so I would say diplomatic victory for them. They're good with science for their unique building, but it's not anything special. Songhai, military, I would say. They're a pretty militaristic civilization. Spain, good with military again. And they get double the amount of yield from great tile, or great natural wonders. That's what it was, natural wonders. But I would still go for military with Spain. Sweden, culture victory. That's usually what they, or diplomatic victory. One of the two. I mean, they have good military units, but they're very diplomatic type of civilization. I would say they're good with city-states, probably a non-violent victory type. Aztecs usually go for a military victory. That's just kind of how they are. Nothing really need to explain there. The Celts are very religious, so they can go for many victory types, but I usually don't see them being too violent. I see them as like a more culture-based or diplomatic type of civilization. The Huns, military, obviously. That's pretty much all they're good at. The Inca build wonders very fast because they get a lot of production in their hills, and they can build a lot of food. They can get a lot of food from their terrace farms. So they get pretty good production. They can pump out wonders. They're pretty good with military if you attack in hills and such. But honestly, they're kind of open-ended too. You could go for any victory type with them. Where were we? Iroquois get good production. So I would say military for them because they get good production. You can build a lot of Mohawk warriors, and you can send them in and fight pretty well if it's in forest. The Mayans get a great person based on the Mayan calendar, and they get science from the pyramid. So I would say like a science victory or a military victory for them. The Netherlands, they're good with trade again, and like the polder is extra food. I would say diplomatic could be used because it's good for, the civilization is good for gold and happiness, but they're kind of open-ended as well, actually. Ottomans are good for military. That's pretty much it. Shoshone, they're kind of open-ended too, actually, because they're very good at combat, and they don't really have much else, but they're good at defensive combat a lot more than offensive. Zulus, complete military. Venice, I would say diplomatic if you don't buy the city-states. Otherwise, you kind of have to just pick a different victory type. So those are the civilizations. I know some of them seem like I didn't really know exactly which victory type was the best, but it should be fine regardless. You can choose, even if a civilization like Greece doesn't go for a military victory, they can still be used for other victories and succeed in them. So that's all for this video. Until next time.